All right, good evening, or good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, or whenever you watch this video. A good day to you. Uh, Welcome to Legend FX Academy. Right, we, we will be talking about a very important topic when it comes to the financial market, and that is the news. Right, you know, the news is actually something that's so important because of the significance in the market movement, right? So news usually comes with spikes, right? You see the market being so liquid, you see sharp movements, price going up, down, so market doing something like this. So candles just printing and all of that, right? So that is basically what goes on when the news comes. So today we're talking about how to trade the news, right? Or how to anticipate or filter the news, right? See the market maybe going up and down. And when news comes, the market doing something like that. You know, you see this extra large candles. Those are candles that are printed by the news, right? Most times it's not all the time. For instance, look at how gold was moving slowly, then suddenly you can see these two massive candles, right? These are the kind of candles that are printed by the news, right? The news often result to this kind of candle. So you don't want to be trading um, against it. Maybe you are buying at this support here. Look at what happened after this two candles printed. Look at how they slow, and then you can see this massive candles coming down. Like this are the kind of thing that the news does, right? The kind of thing that the news does, right? So let's try to see what gold has been doing, right? I think gold did higher and all of that, right? So we have to look at how to analyze the news, right? So let us, let us talk this delve deep into the news now, right? So, so let's talk about the news. So, basically, we have three kinds of news, right? Three kinds of news. I'll classify them for you, and then I'm going to live examples of how you can trade news. So basically, we have three kinds of news. That was called the low impact news, right? We have the low impact news. We have the what's it called the medium impact news, right? Then we have what we call the high impact news. Right? I will teach you how you can use this to your advantage, right? So we have what we call the low impact news, the high impact news, and the medium impact news, right? Based on the definition, the low impact news affects the market minimally. That means there's usually little or no effect when a new impact news is dropped. Then the medium impact news usually have an effect on the market, but it's usually not long term or it's usually not so important, right? It may affect the market or it may not affect the market. So medium impact news affects the market in a medium way. It's not too much and not too little, right? So then we have what we call the high impact news. These are the news that actually move the market crazily, right? You see crazy candles printing, the market's going up and down. For instance, when the FOMC, which is called the Federal Open Market Committee, when they drop the news, usually we find the markets going up and down. It affects basically all the currency pairs apart from the static indices, right? So the static indices are the only kind of markets that are not affected by the news, the synthetic indices. There we have the volatility, the step index, the jump, the range break, and all of that, the boom and the crash, right? But when it comes to currency pairs, right, they are all affected by the news, right? Currency pairs, things like commodities, you can see here, things like stocks, they're affected by the news. The futures, not necessarily, but sometimes they're affected by the news. Then the forex pairs, they're usually affected by the news, right? The forex pairs, or the EU, the exotic pairs, the minor pairs, the cross pairs, the crypto is affected by the news. We have the BTC, the Ethereum, and all of that. The indices as well, they are affected by the news, right? So you always find the indices NAS, US 30, Jet 30, and all of that, right? So that is basically what we will be having in the news, right? So we have it in the news, right? So that being said, let's talk about the how to use this news to our advantage, right? Now, where do you get this news? Where do you get this news? Where do you know? How do you know the news is going to drop? And how do you filter this news? All right. So after that, we have the low impact news, the medium impact news, and then the high impact news, right? So we can go to uh, forexfactory.com. So just simply type Forex Factory, you can search it on Google in case you don't know it, or go to forexfactory.com, right? Let's go to forexfactory.com, right? So you will find that forexfactory.com, right? Right, forexfactory.com, and right. So this is it. This is where you can get the news, right? As you can see news here, right? This is the calendar. It gives you the dates on when the news drop, right? You can come here to shift the dates to where you want. You can adjust the dates from this point. You want to see the news of next week, this month, last week, next month, all of that. So you're free to edit this with your choice, right? So for me, it always shows for the week, right? I put now to show only the week, right? I click on this week, right? It shows me only the news for this week. That's basically why you can see only between 29th to Friday, right? It's only 7 days, right? So like using 7 days view and all of that, right? So now, how do you filter the news? When you come to the forexfactory.com, you can see how to choose the news you want and all of that, right? So you can see where you have your currency, you have the impact. So look at this subheading here. We have what we call the dates. So this is the date for each of the news. This is the time, right? You can see when the news drop, 11 a.m. It's depending on your local time, wherever you are in the country. So the time will be adjusted to the time that you are in whatever GMT zone that you find yourself in, all right? So when you have that, you also have the currency, right? This currency tells you the currency that the news would likely affect, right? So when you see a news that has USD, that means the USD pairs will be affected by that news, right? It will be affected by that news, right? It may be a high impact news, whatever, but whenever you see USD and maybe you have a USD news by 11 a.m., you have to be careful with USD pairs, right? So when you have USD news, you should not expect to see an effect on JPY or CHF or Canadian dollar or GBP unless it's a cross pair with the news, right? So whenever you have USD news, you should be careful with things like GU, that's GBUSD, things like USD JPY, Aussie dollar, and all of that, right? So you should be careful with every pair that has dollar attached to it, right? So now this is the impact. These colors have specific meanings: the red, the orange, the white, and all of that. So I'll teach you the meanings of these colors, all right? And then this is the description of the news, right? Is it a back holiday? What kind of news is this? Is it the governor board member? Is it the gross domestic product? Is it the GBP? Is it the it just describes the kind of news that it is, right? So this is where you get the details of the news, right? You can see the details of the news. I want to see the details of the news, right? For instance, if I click on this, the details, it just gives me the details of the news, right? So it gives us a kind of summary of the news of what's happened, right? So you can read what happened in the news, right? From this point, right? That's not where I'm here for, right? So let's go to some other thing. So that's not what we came here. So we have seen how to analyze this. So now, how do you know the medium news? How do you know the types of news, the high, the low, or the medium impact? So what do? You simply come to simply come to filter. You want to know the kind of news that you are actually looking for, right? That's the way you filter the news in case the particular one that you want, all right? So give me a moment. Let me get that. All right. So, okay. I have to get the filter so we can find. Give me a moment. All right. So, you can see where I clicked. In your mobile phone, you will find filter. So, come to this top right. So, when you come here and you click here, you will see how to filter the news, right? So, from this point, you can choose it. And I have already told you that these colors have a meaning. So, let's start from the red. The red represents high impact news. The yellow, or the orange rather, the orange represents medium impact news. You can see it's medium impact expected. This is red, high impact what's expected. Then the yellow, I did not put you look at it. Yellow represents what? The low impact expected. And then the white represents the non-economic news. That means the news is not going to affect the market. Let us apply everything at once. So you can choose the type of news you want to see. If it's a gross news, influential news, employment news, central bank news, bonds. You can customize it to see the kind of news that you want. All right, you can customize to see the kind of news that you would want to see. All right, so you can customize to see the kind of news you want. So if you want to see the growth news, the inflation news, the employment news, the central bank news, the housing news, whatever kind of news you want to see, then you can choose the pairs you want to see. Maybe if you trade only USD and JPY pairs, so you can customize it to see, okay, if I trade only USD and JPY, I can also remove all this, right? I can remove all of this to see, okay, I want to see only JPY and New Zealand news, right? So you can customize it, you can filter it from this aspect, right? Wherever you want the news to be, you can do it from this side, all right? So let's apply all this to see now. So now I've applied it. I have seen that there are yellow folders. Now look at this. Now I told you that this silver one represents non-economic, right? I can see bank holiday does not affect the market, right? You don't expect to see anything, right? Usually have bank holidays, public holidays, all of that, right? This is what you usually see here. So it is not of any importance, right? It helps us to know when to not trade. Well, for instance, when you have a bank holiday, I don't expect to be traded on, like for instance, you had an AUD holiday, right? That means in Australia, they had a bank holiday. That means the Aussie pairs will not be volatile for that day, right? So you can avoid pairs that have AUD since you want the market to be moving. You don't want consolidation or slow movement, right? So you could stick to pairs that do not have a public holiday. That is basically what this is used for. Use it to know the pairs that you should trade on that day, right? If you see a holiday, avoid the pairs that have, for instance, NSD had a holiday on the 5th, right? So it's on the 5th, to have a holiday on the 5th of July next week, or let's go to this week, rather. Let's go back to this week. Let's what happened this week. I don't know how I got to next week, right? Let's go to this week. All right, so now we're in this week, right? So this helps us to know what on the, for instance, like today, Monday 30th, we had a bank holiday in the US dollar, right? We had a bank holiday, right? So the USD pairs may have not been so volatile today, right? So this helps us to know when to trade and when not to take certain pairs. Now the news. The next color is this, you can see no impact. That means these news are not significant, right? You can overlook this kind of news, right? For me, I don't look at the orange folders, right? So I can simply come here and remove it since it's not of any importance, right? I can remove this since I'm not using the no impact news for anything, all right? I use the holidays to know the best to treat if they are volatile or they are not volatile, all right? So now I can see the holiday. That means that this pair will be relatively less volatile. So I don't expect sharp movements on the USD pairs today. Right? Although I can see it because of other pairs are like the British pairs are still on because GBP against USD means that GBP will still be moving. Right. So you can use this to know the pairs are volatile for that day. Then the next one is what we call the orange. The next one we call the medium impact news. This news affects the market. So whenever you see an orange impact news, always mark the time. Whenever it's 4 p.m., you want to know if you have a position running, you would want to break even. If you are about to enter a trade, you should be very careful whenever the news is about to drop, right? Prefer orange and then the red. The red is what we call the high impact news. This news always affects the market, maybe immediately or maybe an hour after, a day after, but you should always expect a high impact on the financial markets when these news are dropping. That means if you are buying the market, for instance, if you are buying the market, right? You are buying the market, right? Maybe you had something like a resistance here. I don't think resistance support, but by the way. So if I try to maybe sell at the tech touch of the resistance, and then a news is coming, like maybe the market was somewhere around here, maybe somewhere around here, and you saw this kind of news. You saw a red, a high impact news coming up. You are expected to be very careful with this trade because most often what the market will do is that it's going to take you out and then continue downwards, right? That's what news does. News comes with high spreads, news comes with random movements, especially the red folders and the yellow and the orange folders, right? So whenever you're trading the financial markets, always be watching out for this color, the orange and the red and the white. The white tells you holidays, so you don't have to trade those pairs too much. You focus on the ones that don't have holidays, right? Then the orange pair, you should expect medium impact, but it's not so much. But you should always look out for the red impact news, right? The high impact news. So whenever this drops, you should be very careful. If you're buying, very careful. Always observe the news, right? This is a GDP news. If you know how to analyze fundamentals, you can go and go through what is going on with the gross domestic product. All right. If it's this kind of news, you can go and right. So this is basically how to know the news that you should be trading. Right. This is basically how to do it. How to know the pairs you should be trading. How to avoid being caught up by the news spikes. So you always mark the time. If it's 2:30, be very careful. Do not trade at that time, or wait, if possible, wait for the news to play out. Right. When maybe you had a trade idea by 3 and maybe it's 2:50. I want the entire trade. So you could just wait for the news to play out first before doing that, unless you have done the fundamental analysis, right? So maybe now next video I'll teach you how to do fundamental analysis, how to analyze to expect how to anticipate the direction of news. I just taught you how to filter news, how to identify news, how to anticipate news, what the news is about, how to do all of that, right? So see you in our next video. Please join my Telegram channel if you haven't to get more bits from us, and subscribe to this channel, like this video. See you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Cheers and God bless.